Hey guys, as some of you know, I recently went on an epic road trip around Great Britain with a homemade camper van called the Honeybee. Today I'm going to share the details of that road trip, which took me through 3 different countries in just 9 days. Oh, and by the way, I did this entire trip over winter, so I saved a lot of money on accommodation and food by renting a camper van and by traveling in the low season. This is a great way to travel through Great Britain, and I hope that it'll give you some ideas about different kinds of budget travel you can do around the world. This week's video is brought to you by Humless, solar power on the go. My adventure started when I landed in London. I spent a few days wandering around the city, which pretty much shuts down around Christmas. No worries, my travel partner and I saw all the historical sites on our walks and even had a chance to ride on the London Eye. Next, it was time to pick up the van and start the road trip. We took a train to Bristol, the Honeybee van's hometown, and met the owners/builders, Kat and John. With no time to waste, we headed north. Our first stop was the Lake District area. We spent the day driving and walking through quaint English towns with beautiful views of rolling hills. The next day, we crossed the border into Scotland, and the weather immediately became colder. But our little rolling accommodation kept us warm with a small heater, and we cooked most of our meals, which saved us even more money. Let me serve you, sir. Here's your mush. Yum.
That's all we can afford.
Yes. In Scotland, we explored the famous Loch Lomond. The weather was freezing, but the views were incredible. This was the highest elevation we would reach on our road trip.
Snowy. Scotland sucks.
No, it You just came here for the scotch.
Castles.
Well, there should be a castle up here, supposedly. It'll look nice in the snow.
Agreed.
Because the Honeybee van was stealthy, and because we were traveling in the low season, we were able to wild camp every night of our trip. Sometimes we would just pull off on the side of the road and wake up in the morning with a beautiful view we didn't even know was there. I was looking most forward to the next part of our trip, which would bring us to the Isle of Skye. To get there, we had a choice of taking a ferry or driving over the Skye Bridge. We decided to do both. First up, the ferry. Skye was the most scenic part of our trip. Honestly, I could do this entire video just on this island. The views went from stunning to otherworldly at times, especially during sunset in winter. After 2 nights in the wilderness of northern Scotland, we made a mad dash for Edinburgh in time for their insane New Year's Eve celebration, or Hogmanay. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people crowd Princess Street in downtown Edinburgh for a New Year's Eve festival.
Here we are! Happy New Year!
I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cold, but with so many bodies and warm drinks all around, I really didn't mind. The fireworks display over the castle was the best I've ever seen in my life. One of our favorite meals to cook in the van was brown rice and chicken tikka marsala, a British favorite. Although some nights we couldn't help ourselves and went out to eat at the local pub. We did manage to hit a few distilleries before leaving Scotland. We took tours, tried samples, and bought a few bottles for the road.
A quick word on driving in Great Britain as an American. It's difficult, and it's especially difficult during winter when you have to deal with ice on the roads. Now throw in the fact that you're driving a manual that has the stick shift on the opposite side of what you're used to and about 100,000 roundabouts, and you might be white-knuckling it half of the trip like we were. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for this type of road trip if you plan on traveling to a country where you're going to be driving on the opposite side of what you're normally used to.
Heading back south into England, we had just enough time to stop in Liverpool to spend the afternoon at Albert Dock and, of course, visit the Beatles' story. After that, it was time to enter the third country on our road trip. In northern Wales, we were greeted by the narrowest roads on our trip, gorgeous castles, and Storm Eleanor's 80 to 90 mile per hour winds.
Windy enough for you?
The coastal towns were colorful and charming, and because it was the off-season, we were able to park in some pretty amazing spots within walking distance to pubs and restaurants.
Check this out. It's high tide.
Our last stop was to the small Welsh town of St. David's, which has a breathtakingly beautiful cathedral with several ornate ceilings. After 9 days in the van, it was time for our trip to end. We drove back to Bristol, returned the Honeybee to her owners, and took the train back to London to catch our flight home.
Thank you for watching this week's video. I hope it inspires you to travel more, especially because there's budget-friendly options out there, like my Honeybee homemade camper van. See you next time.